Connect is a mentorship program for K through 12 students. It's designed as an intervention for those students who are showing signs of disengagement at school and may be at risk of dropping out. It's based on education research that's done at the U of M and other institutions. They have found a series of techniques and best practices that can be used by the mentors that have been proven to have a positive effect. One study they did showed that 20% more Check and Connect students graduated than non-Check and Connect students. Graduating high school is extremely important and is very tightly correlated with a wide range of positive outcomes later in life. So this is definitely an important mission that Check and Connect is doing. In order to maintain the standards of their program, the Check and Connect mentors that work directly with the students need to go through a rigorous training program that will teach them the tools and techniques they can use. They receive this training from Check and Connect certified local trainers that in turn need to be trained and certified and recertified so that they are able to give this training to the mentors. These local trainers receive their training from the 5 Check and Connect national trainers. These national trainers guide the local trainers through the certification process in groups they call cohorts. So a cohort will have up to 15 local trainers. As they go through the certification process, there are different requirements, a few different trainings, some paperwork, various things that they need to check off. There are deadlines for all of these requirements, and the cohorts will all start at the same time, and as they move through the process, these deadlines are aligned for everyone in each cohort. Check and Connect has been growing quite a lot. 4 years ago, they were in one state with one cohort of local trainers. Today, they are in 9 different states, each of which has anywhere from 1 to 8 cohorts. There are now over 200 local trainers in Check and Connect. All of this growth has brought with it a new challenge, as the 5 national trainers in the program try to keep track of the certification status and all the requirement deadlines for all of these 200 local trainers. They had previously been dealing with this by using an Excel spreadsheet, so this is an example showing some of the data from a cohort of local trainers in Florida. You can see in the D and E columns across the side there are some of the different requirements they were tracking. This solution worked fine for one state, but it didn't scale very well as Check and Connect continued to grow. Each of these national trainers had been building a spreadsheet on their own, so they had a different spreadsheet for different states. There was inconsistent formatting as these trainers sort of came up with their own way to solve this. And that means there's no centralized data repository that has a standardized way where national trainers are able to review the certification status of all of the local trainers nationally. So this was the problem that our client Eileen brought to us, and to start to show you our solution created, I'm going to turn it over to Grace.
Thank you, Nate. So imagine that I'm a national trainer, and I've just received the great news that we are expanding Check and Connect to the state of New York. So I've been given the task of putting in all the information that we need for this new cohort. So first I'll go to the new state level organization page, and here I can enter in the name of the organization, which is the New York Education Board, and I can also pick the state of New York. And this is important for us to keep track of because this education board is going to be the one providing funding for this first cohort. So after I click on Create, I can go over to the Create Cohort page, where here I can enter in the state and state level organization that I just created. And after I fill that out, I can see that the first cohort name will be Cohort 1. And I'm going to make a quick note about this cohort that we're starting a week later than we had planned because of conflicting schedules, but we will be starting next week. So that initial Train the Trainers workshop date there, I will change that to Monday of next week. And once I do that, I can see that all of the due dates for all the requirements have been updated. And next to those due dates, I can see a notification date, I can see 2 notification dates. And those are days when emails will be automatically generated and sent out to everyone in the cohort, as well as the national trainers to update them about the upcoming deadlines. And I've found that with that second requirement, the signed terms of agreement, that it's better if I have the first notification date just go out a day earlier, just so that everybody, usually more people get their signed terms of agreement in on time. So after that, I can create the cohort, And right now I have just enough time to add one trainer to this cohort. So I'm going to go over to the create a new local trainer page. And here I can add all of the important contact information. So as well as the job title, school district, and I can also add them to that state and cohort that I just created. And this is important just so that we can stay in contact with them throughout their time as a trainer for Check and Connect. And after I click on Submit, I can see that they've been added to the recently added list. So if I was adding multiple trainers at this time, it would be easy for me to keep track of where I was at. And that concludes my portion of the demonstration, and I'm going to hand it off to Ross, who's going to talk about how to manage cohorts at later dates.
Thanks, Grace. Right, so as a national trainer, it's my responsibility to be sure that all of our local level trainers are up to speed and current with their workshop and their certifications. So I'll use the cohort manager function to funnel down to Ohio, the State Board of Education, and the second cohort. And you can see that these 5 local trainers are overdue for their initial training as far as this looks. I've actually been out to Ohio and I trained them last week, so we can select the entire cohort and mark them as complete. And while I was there, we also took care of the terms, and they signed their acknowledgements then too, so we can sign that one and check it as complete also. And then the third column over is the observed training. Once a year they have to be observed. So that helps us if we can break it down into smaller groups. So we'll select the top 3 employees, and they're going to be trained about a week earlier. Perfect. Okay, then the search function also. There's an employee, it's Catherine, I can't think of her last name, but it begins with an H. It's a nice search feature we have here. Catherine Hasselbarth. You can select her, be inactive for about 6 months. So I'll select her as inactive. It'll keep her in the system, but it won't include her on any exports that we send off to the state level organizations. I'll leave a note saying she's back in about 6 months. Perfect. And then down below I can see when I come back and talk to Catherine again where she is in the certification process. So it's a nice little timeline here as well. So that wraps up kind of the cohort section, the manager section. I'll pass it off to Isaac and he'll take care of things.
Thank you, Ross. As it has been mentioned before, the funding for Check and Connect comes from the contracts that it has with multiple state-level organizations. And for those state-level organizations to keep funding the program, they need to see the progress of the local trainers that are under their agency. So I'm going to take a role of a national trainer who just received an email from the Vermont Agency of Education about the status of my local trainers. All I have to do is come into the app, log in, and I filter down to the Agency of Education on your left, and just hit the export button on the top right table, and that will download an Excel spreadsheet of all the trainers in that agency. And all I have to do after that is just attach that to an email and send it back to whoever requested the information. That concludes the demo portion of our app. And as you can see, our application has made it very easy for Check and Connect to search, filter, mark complete, schedule multiple or individual local trainers. This used to be done on a spreadsheet as used before, and that and now they can just simply do this over here in one application, and that solved 2 problems. One was the inconsistency of the data. Now all of the local trainers all around the nation have the same form of certification and like a saved in the same format. And the other problem that we solved is the problem of expanding. So now when they expand, they have to create another spreadsheet and do the whole thing all over again. But now all they have to do is come to the application and add as many cohort and local trainers as they want. And that also solved the problem of scalability, because now they can just simply do that. Education is a very important pillar in our society, and Check and Connect is doing a very good job of keeping young adults in school, and we are very happy to help them focus more on training and training the trainers, which will make a difference in the kids' life, and less on keeping track of the data of the local trainers. We want to thank our client, Eileen Clem, prime instructors, cohort Nunki, and once again, Ross Quelly, that's Nate Carroll, Grace Kasahara, and I'm Isaac Nagatu. If you have a question about the application, you can just talk to us afterwards. Thank you.
The experience at Prime is not just limited to software. We do focus a lot on learning software, but part of our focus is also soft skills, like public speaking. We spend a lot of time practicing this skill because it is so important to be able to clearly and succinctly talk to an audience. And that is all I need to say.
Matthew Bile, Tyler here, and I am Meyer Lee. We have the pleasure of working with Lou Slongen and Emily Schumacher from Prime Digital Academy on our application. Luke is an instructor here, and Emily is a program manager here. And one of their goals is to make sure that their graduates graduate, apply for jobs, get that job, and also stay engaged. They presented to us a idea they had that we created an application to implement. Prime Digital Academy is a boot camp, an immersive boot camp that offers 2 tracks. It has a user experience design and a full stack engineer. Our concentration today will be on the full stack engineering program. The unique thing about Prime is that Prime excels at ramping up students who are very motivated, problem solvers, and turn them into industry-ready individuals who can then tackle an industry software engineering job. This is completed in 3 division of the program, Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3. After Tier 3, students are encouraged to keep applying for jobs and to code every day. And also, they are highly encouraged to send weekly updates to careers at primeacademy.io. Our app, Tier 4, helped make this a reality. And so I'll pass it on to Jeff to talk to you more about our problem space.
Thanks, Meyer. So the problem space we worked with was that Prime staff noticed that the weekly update emails that are expected of alumni stopped arriving, and staff was not sure whether or not that was because graduates were getting the job and just stopped updating us, or is it because they were no longer interested in sending those emails, or were they simply just forgetting? So that was one of the problems. Another problem is that the graduates were focusing too much on just straight up applying for jobs, networking, and the coding aspect and practicing coding, staying on that, sort of took a back seat, and that resulted in those good habits during Tier 2 and Tier 3 of coding every day to sort of decay. So our goal was to provide the Prime community a tool that will encourage daily coding and continue those good habits, keep up with alumni progress through those weekly update forms, make those easy to send out. And then maintain positive habits by providing structure, incentivizing learning, and tracking growth. So, to go over structure, an example of what Tiers 1 through 3 looked like. Tier 1 is mostly online, some in-person instruction, but mostly online, 13 hours a week. There are weekly assignments and goals to achieve, class or online videos to watch to guide you through the learning. Tier 2 really ramps up in terms of time commitment. It's 8:30 to 5 every day, Monday through Friday, and an additional 15-20 hours a week working on homework, working on weekend project groups. And the curriculum is very heavily structured. Every day, there's assignment, we're learning something new every day. And then we move into Tier 3, which is project-based. Are expected to come up with a solo project and then scope it, build it, and then group projects working directly with clients. It's very structured. The time is just the same as Tier 2. And our ideal was to make after graduation have structure as well with Tier 4 to provide with a kind of framework to. So another thing we wanted to do is incentivize our alumni to use this app by having them compete to make it onto the leaderboard and compete with their cohort peers. Encourage friendly competition, as well as track their progress of their coding. And then we wanted to show them how they were growing. over the last 30 days, how often did you commit? You know, if you got 100% over the entire month, show that this is my progress. This is what I was able to do over the last month. So to go over the app, students will log in with GitHub. So all full stack development students here at Prime are familiar with GitHub. GitHub is a website that we as students use to track our code and collaborate on code, as well as send our code to instructors for feedback. So all students here are familiar, at least all full stack development students are familiar with GitHub. So they sign in with GitHub, they don't need to register an account with the specific app, and then they're able to join a challenge. A challenge is a 30-day sprint where students are expected to commit at least one thing per day to GitHub. So code a little bit, push that up to GitHub, and then our app will track the progress. So they'll get credit for the day if they push up to GitHub on that day. And then we track their longest streak, so the most number of days in a row where they commit to GitHub, and their commit percentage. So how many of the total days did they commit over those 30 days? And they're encouraged to make it onto the leaderboard. So highest commit percentages will be tracked. Well, the students will be shown on the leaderboard, and they're encouraged to compete with their cohort mates. And every week, they're encouraged to fill out feedback, and they're reminded each week with an email if they choose. And that will be sent as an email to the staff here at Prime. So I'm going to pass it off to Tyler to walk us through what an admin user will do with our app.
Thank you, Jeff. Okay, so as an admin, first thing we're going to want to do is log in. So the app remembers that I'm an admin because I've logged in the past, and let's take a look at the admin view. So right now there's not a current challenge, so let's take a look at some data we've generated in the past. Past challenges, we have data for our August challenge on the front page, and we can sort this data by name, title, commit percentage, and longest streak. Now, why is this data important? Well, this data is important because we can see how our Prime alumni have been performing in the past. And this is very important because we can see they've not only just been working on the job hunt, they've also been continuing to learn to code. So let's go ahead and create a new challenge. So we're going to create the October challenge, and we're going to start this on October the 1st. Now, what happens when we create a challenge? Well, an email automatically gets sent out to everyone who's enrolled in email updates, and they will see that the new challenge is live and that they can join it right away. So let's do that. Let's see what happens 2 weeks down the line. Let's see how our challenge looks. Okay, so here we are on the home page, and we can see that we have a countdown that is counting down until the challenge ends. So once this challenge ends, the new challenge will be created, and you will be able to sign up for that challenge. So let's take a look at the admin view. Okay, this is all updated data, and this is updated daily. So we can see that everyone who's just in this challenge has been continuing to commit, continuing to work towards learning to code and getting better at it, and we can monitor that on a daily basis, which is very useful for our Prime staff. So, okay, let's say Isaac got a job and is no longer interested in being part of this challenge. Well, we can go ahead and remove him from the challenge, and yeah. And in case we made a mistake and didn't actually want to create this challenge, we can remove the challenge here. So, yeah, we're not going to do that right now. And that concludes the admin portion of our app, and I'm going to pass it off to Matt to show us what it's like for the everyday user.
Thank you, Tyler. As a user, I am also a recent graduate from Prime Digital Academy, and I've been informed by the alumni engagement staff that there's this awesome new tool called Tier 4 that allows me to track my progress, maintain some accountability for making daily commits. So upon navigating to the site, the first thing I see is a countdown that, as we just saw, is initiated by the admin. Just below that, we've got a leaderboard, which luckily enough I made it onto by hitting a really high commit streak. Got some fellow graduates in there as well. So I'm going to log in, and upon clicking login, I'm prompted to enter my GitHub username and password. As Jeff touched on, it's a tool we use very frequently, and everyone will have a username and password for it. When I log in, the application can tell the difference between the admin and user, and up in the nav bar, my name appears, so I'm going to click on that and navigate to my user page, which generates some data from GitHub. Longest commit streak, commit rate, and my GitHub user image. Just above that, you can see that there is no upcoming challenge because I am currently in one. And next to that is the email preferences. As you can see by my commit rate, I don't need the reminders to commit daily anymore. So I will remove that. I do still want to receive emails to submit that weekly summary to the alumni staff. So everything looks good there. Speaking of that weekly summary, I do want to fill that out and make sure that I let them know where I'm at. So I'll fill that form out, and when it's sent, it's collected in our database, which is then batch emailed to the alumni staff to let them know where I am at. That concludes the user portion of the demo. I'll pass it back to my ear to take us home.
Thanks, Matt. Building Tier 4 has been a really meaningful experience for all of us here for two reasons. The first reason is that we are given the opportunity to contribute back to the Prime community that helps shape the kind of software developers that we want today. And those developers are people who are very smart, very motivated, very driven to solve today's problem through software. The second reason is, as we're graduating this week, we can see how useful this application can be to us in Tier 4. And so today we want to thank our instructor Dane Smith, all of the Prime staff here, our class Nunki, and our client Luke and Emily. And again, we are Jeff Richardson, Matthew Bile, Tyler Sear, and I am Maya Lee. Thank you.
It's really quite incredible that these folks who have been doing this for 19 and a half weeks will be graduating on Friday. So it was a unique opportunity for them to work on something that they then in turn might use in their everyday lives while they're getting a job and beyond. So beyond now, we have another group, which is Gilda's Club Twin Cities.
Thank you, Dane. And thank everyone for coming out today. This is BJ Pennington, Peter Johnson, Danny Yang, and I'm DeAnthony Miller. We are Team Gilda's Club. Gilda's Club Twin Cities is a nonprofit and local affiliate of the cancer support community within a network of more than 54 supportive, free, and welcoming clubhouses where everyone impacted by cancer can come for social, emotional, and psychological support. Clubhouses are a healing environment where individuals can learn from each other under guidance from licensed professionals. Support comes in many forms, including exercising, yoga, expressive art classes, group support for those living with cancer, and as well as groups for friends and family, and personalized care planning. That is just a glimpse of some of the support Gilda's Club provides. Gilda's Club members can be anyone impacted by cancer. Quote, "Life is about not knowing, having to change, taking the moment and making the best of it without knowing what's going to happen next." And quote, Gilda Reitner. And if I can just quickly get a show of hands, does anybody know who Gilda Reitner is? Wow. They did sweet. Awesome. Gilda's Club are named in memory of comedian Gilda Reitner, best known for her work on Saturday Night Live. Unfortunately, Gilda passed away from ovarian cancer in 1989. Shortly thereafter, her friends and family opened the first Gilda's Club in New York City to honor her wish that no one will face cancer alone. Gilda's Club continues her legacy. Now, I'd like to talk about our client, Ryan Sweeney, who is the Development and Stewardship Manager at Gilda's Club Twin Cities. Ryan has provided us the opportunity to contribute to Gilda's Club Twin Cities by developing an important tool that will be utilized by volunteers that make Gilda's Club so great. And to share more about those volunteers, I'm going to go ahead and pass it on to Danny.
there's one staff member that is a volunteer and program coordinator. So her name is Maddie, and their current volunteer outreach process right now is they send out emails, they send out newsletters, and they call their volunteers in their database to recruit or notify them about upcoming volunteer opportunities. So there's also many volunteer opportunities at Gilda's Club Twin Cities. They have recurring volunteer opportunities that happen either annually or monthly or even weekly. And then they also have one-time volunteer opportunities that may come up throughout the year. So certain volunteer opportunities also require different certifications depending on the opportunity. For example, Nunki Land, which is named after a famous Gilda Radner sketch on Saturday Night Live, it requires certification for supervised child playtime. And so volunteers would have to go through orientation and training to receive the correct certification to be able to sign up for the event. So Ryan approached us, and as you can see, this process, one person, Maddie, handling 400 plus volunteers and many events can be very tedious, time-consuming, and takes away a lot of Maddie's time from assisting with helping volunteers and programming. So Ryan wanted a tool that can help their staff efficiently create volunteer opportunities and set required certification per opportunities. And then a system where volunteers can sign up for and see events that match their certifications. And then also have a feature where the app can export a CSV file, which is a text file, that can be integrated into any database system that they may use. So in order to give you an idea of what kind of users will be utilizing our app, I first want to share a story about Elaine. So meet Elaine. Imagine one week you're skiing downhill and like having fun with your friends and family, and then next week you're scheduled to have brain surgery. And this was Elaine's experience being diagnosed with cancer. During recovery, Elaine and her loved ones discovered Gilda's Club Twin Cities. And through utilizing their resources, from group support to pain management classes, she recovered. And after recovering, she wanted to give back. So currently, every Monday, she volunteers at the local Gilda's Club as a Gilda greeter, sitting at the front desk, welcoming guests who come through their iconic red doors, and answering phone calls. So next, I want to pass it on to my colleague, BJ, to share a little bit more about which type of users will be using this app, and she'll be demonstrating that.
Thank you, Danny. So as Danny said, I will be demonstrating the user side of our application, in other words, the volunteers with Gilda's Club. And in order to do that, I'm actually going to play the role of Elaine, who you just heard about. So as a regular volunteer with Gilda's Club, I obviously love helping out with the organization, but it's not always as easy as I would like it to be. In order to find opportunities that I'm interested in, I might have to call or email one of the staff members at Gilda's Club to find out what's coming up. I might have to dig through my own email to check for the latest Gilda's Club newsletter and skim through that. Or I might even have to check one of the bulletin boards at the Gilda's Club clubhouse to see what's on the docket. And even then, once I've found something that I'm excited about helping out with, I still have to make an effort to call or email one of the staff to get signed up for that. And following that, I have to keep track of all the details related to that opportunity so that I'm prepared when the time comes around. With the volunteer application, that whole process feels much more streamlined to me. So when I first sign in, I'm taken to the My Shifts view, and right here I can see any of shifts that I've already signed up to be a part of. This is really nice for me because if I want to check in and make sure my calendar's up to date, or if I know I have a shift coming up and just want to make sure I have all of the details about it, such as the date or time or any special instructions, it's really easy for me to find that information right away. So from here, I'm going to head over to the Upcoming Opportunities view. And in this view, I can scroll through and see any upcoming opportunities that I'm not signed up for yet, but might be interested in, and it will only show me ones that I'm certified for, making it really easy for me to sign up for the right opportunities. These are also sorted by date, so the events that are closest to coming up will be at the top, and things that are further away are towards the bottom. That's also super handy for me, because in that regard, if I know I have some extra time coming up in the next couple days, I can keep an eye on the things towards the top of the list. If I want to plan a little further out ahead, I know I can keep scrolling through to see what's coming up later. So as I scroll through this list, this ice cream social is definitely catching my eye. I love ice cream, so I'm going to click on more details and check that out. In the description here, I can see that Gilda's Club is looking for some people who can handle ice cream scooping and cleaning up afterwards. Again, I love ice cream, and I also love interacting with the members and volunteers at Gilda's Club, which makes this sound like the perfect opportunity for me. So I'm just going to go ahead and click sign up, and I get this nice alert just verifying that that's happened. From here, I'm going to hop over to the announcements page. This page is just another place where Gilda's Club can get in touch with me and share any updates or news that their volunteers might be interested in. Once again, these are sorted by date with the newest announcements at the top, so that's really easy for me when I check in regularly to see what's new since the last time I signed in. So right here at the top, I can see a new alert that there's something new going on with the Gilda's Club t-shirts. So I'm going to read more about that. And it looks like those t-shirts are now becoming available not just to members and volunteers, but to other people as well. I think I'm going to buy some of those for my grandkids, so I'm going to make a note of that and come back. Remember to ask about that the next time I'm at the clubhouse. But thinking about my grandkids also reminded me that my daughter's going to be in town this week. So heading back to my shifts, we were planning on having lunch on Saturday, so that means I won't actually be able to help out at this extra Gilda greeter shift that I picked up. So I'm going to hop into more details one more time, and I'm going to go ahead and withdraw from that shift. Being able to remove myself makes it really easy for the admins on their side, or the GCTC staff, to kind of keep an eye on where things are at, and that way they can easily find someone to replace that, since that shift will now be open to other volunteers. So that concludes the volunteer side of the application. I'm going to pass things off to Peter, who's going to walk us through some of the admin functionality.
Thank you, BJ. I'll be playing the role of Maddie, the volunteer program coordinator at Gilda's Club Twin Cities. So when I log in, I am brought to this Manage Opportunities page, which really makes everything easy, managing all the volunteers and events. I see that the Ice Cream Social has the stock photo that comes when I create an opportunity, so I'm going to go ahead and change that to something that's a little bit more interesting for the volunteers to look at. I'm also going to manage the volunteers for the Ice Cream Social. And I can see now that we have 3 volunteers signed up for the Ice Cream Social. I'm going to remove Jennifer because she had called and said that she was not going to be able to make it. And I also got a call from Gladys, an 80-year-old volunteer who doesn't really use the internet all that much, doesn't have a computer or access to the internet. So I'm going to add her as well. I can only add people that are certified to this event, so that makes it easy for me to not sign people up who aren't specifically certified for certain things. I'm also going to add a note to the Ice Cream Social that I need to bring dairy-free ice cream because I know 4 of our members are lactose intolerant. If I scroll back up and go to the Manage Volunteers side, this is where I see a table of all of the data for all of our volunteers, contact information and certifications. At the very top, the 3 CSV files links there are to download all the data that Danny had talked about, the text file data. Looks like this that we might need to give to donors or fundraisers, or just to incorporate into our old Dynamics 365 database. I'm going to go ahead and click on Elaine and edit her. She just received her Nunki Land certification, so I can give her that. And I'm going to put a note in there as well at the bottom, letting me know that she had mentioned to me that she wanted to get her AV certification at some point as well. Her being the third person to tell me about that, I'm going to go over to the Manage Announcements page. Oh, actually, real quick, these are all sortable by column header. So if I want to find a Gilda greeter, I can click the Gilda greeter and see 5 people. Now I know who I should call to see about getting a Gilda greeter for the shift that BJ just withdrew from. Now I'm going to manage the announcements and create an announcement letting people know that we have an upcoming AV certification class since there's so much interest in it. We're looking for 5 people to get that AV certification. And I can set the date too. We'll just go with that date though. Great. And that concludes the admin side of the demo. I'm going to pass it over to Miller to close us out.
Peter? Elaine's story is just one out of many Gilda's Club volunteers. With the streamlined features of the volunteer web application we've created, it is now even easier for volunteers to get involved and for Gilda's Club staff to manage volunteers. We want to give a warm and special thank you to our client, Ryan Sweeney, for allowing us to contribute to Gildersleeve Twin Cities, and everyone at Prime Digital Academy for this amazing adventure. Once again, we are BJ Pennington, Peter Johnson, Danny Yang, and I am DeAnthony Miller.
Software is built for real people. Without people, software is useless. And so truly, part of these projects is understanding the humanity behind the software. Because if there are no humans to use it, there is no point to make it. And that is something that I think that we really strive to make known here, is like, this is really important. And it's not an individual in their basement coding alone to make something that no one will use. This is collaborative, real work for real people and real solutions. I'm going to pass it off to our final group, which is Team Potato Head. Thank you.
Thank you, Dane. We are Team Potato Head. We have Tua Tao, Paya Tao, Jimmy Brandon, and I'm Casey Clowers. We're very excited to be able to tell you about the potatoheadproject.org. This is an organization that was created 5 years ago when our client Kristen gave birth to her beautiful twins, Dylan and Hayden. When the girls were born, they weighed just over 1 pound each, and they had to spend almost 4 months in the NICU. This time for a family with super preemie babies is incredibly stressful and difficult. And families want to see any amount of progress in the child's health and growth. And so one day a nurse mentioned to Kristen and her husband that a lot of families like to put a toy or some kind of, so usually a stuffed animal in with the baby's incubator as a way to take a picture every week and kind of compare how the baby's growing. So Kristen and her husband decided to use a potato head doll as a way to mark that growth, because it's a toy that is easily disinfected before it's put in the incubator as opposed to like a stuffed animal. And it's also a recognizable image. It's something everyone kind of has a history with. And so having that hope every week of taking that photo and seeing that progress was something that was really important to Kristen and her husband. They decided that they wanted to spread that hope to other families around the country, so they created the Potato Head Project. Kristen's a very busy woman. She's got a full-time job, and like you saw before, she has 5-year-old twins. So in her spare time, she started this organization that she runs out of her home. And part of that organization is dealing with a lot of data that comes in from people that go to their website and request a potato head. Along with all this data, the way that it was being collected brought in some pretty unformatted, so you can see like 26 weeks, this is 26W2D. This is not easy to handle, and it often leads to needing to copy and paste a lot of things into forms. So we decided to make a web application that helps take in cleaner data, which is easier for storing in a database. Kristen also wanted to really maintain that personal connection with all of the people that she impacts. So we created a email system which automatically generates emails that she can personalize. And I'm going to pass it off to Tua to begin our demonstration.
Thank you, Casey. So I'm going to play the role as a nominator. A nominator is someone who's close to the family and want to provide support for the family. So more specifically, I'm going to play the role as an uncle. So during my time visiting my nieces at the hospital, I was talking with this nurse, and the nurse was talking about this organization called the Potato Head Project. So I heard a lot of great things about them, what they do, and it's so great hearing from the nurse, well, how the nurse is describing what they do is to help the family that was staying in the hospital for months to turn that time into something that they can measure how big the baby grow and give them hopes. So with that, I'm going to go to the website. And this website look really neat, but you know what really catch my eyes is this thing called the Map of Hope. So I'm going to click this Map of Hope. And upon clicking on this Map of Hope, I can actually see where they have sent the potato head to. So all these are the location of the hospital they have sent to. And you know what? I really want to request a potato head now because I love what they do. So I'm going to go request a potato head. So right here on the form here, I'm going to fill my information about who I'm sending to, the babies. So scroll down. But you know what? Since I was in such a rush to go to the hospital, I don't really remember the address, but I remember the name. So I'm going to type in North Memorial Hospital. Oh, that's so neat. It autofill everything, so I don't have to remember the address. But I do remember the room number and the floor. So the floor was the 5th floor, and the room number was 577. All right, I'm going to leave the personalized note because I want my brother-in-law and my sister to know that that was for me. So with that, and you know what? There's a button for subscribing it. I love what they're doing, so I'm going to subscribe to them, and I want to stay connected with them. So I'm going to click that, and I'm going to click I'm not a robot, and it looked like they might have some issue with spamming, so I'm going to click that, and I'm going to request. So there's a pop-up here, and it's telling me that I will get an email that my order is going to be on its way. And you know what? I would really like to donate, so I'm going to click donate on that. So it's going to take me to a donating page. So in here, I'm going to donate to the Potato Head Project because I love what they're doing. And this concludes the nominator demo. I'm going to pass on Paya.
Thank you, Tom. We created an admin portal for Kristen just so that she could keep track of her requests and stuff like that. So I'm going to act as the role of Kristen. So Kristen, I'm going to sign into the admin portal. And once I sign in, at the top, I'll see a table. At the top of the table, there will be the most current open request. So I will click on the request, and it will provide all the data that was provided when the nominator signed the form. So this is very important to me because the form lists the baby's information, and for every care package I send, I want to be able to customize it according to the baby's weight, gestation, and how far along the baby is. And that's very important to me to have a human connection. So what I'm going to do is, once I finish with customizing the package, I will go show notes. And what that does is, the show note is the notes that the nominator would like to be included in the care package. So what I like to do is, I like to handwrite all these notes from the nominator and include that note into my care package. And once I'm ready to ship, I will click on print shipping label, and that would just take me to my personal PayPal site where I could generate shipping labels with the tracking number that's with the address that's provided, and it showed that yes, this is verified as a hospital because I usually only send my package to a hospital. So once that is done, I would click send email. And I send email, I have an input field where I could put the tracking number that I got from PayPal. And I will also include a personal message to the nominator because it's very important for me to connect with them and to hear stories about what is going on with the family. And once it's done, I'm going to click send. And that will automatically generate an email with the tracking number and my personal information directly to the nominator's email. And once this is complete, I will mark the email as sent, and that will complete my request for that request. And I would like to pass, and also this month we're having a newsletter. So what I want to do is I want to click at the top right corner and import all our current subscribers' emails so that I can send all of them a newsletter about any upcoming charity events, donations, fundraising, or just exciting things that is happening at the Potato Head Project. So that concludes my demo for the admin, and I will pass that off to Jimmy to conclude this presentation.
Thanks, Paya. As Dan mentioned earlier, we write code for people. In this case, it was for Kristen. Kristen's two main concerns were getting the community involved with everything that they're doing, and inspiring hope in these parents. I think our app brings both of these together very well. We have a form that basically structures all of the data the same, so she spends less time going through all the data and verifying it, and more time like personalizing each of these requests. The admin portal gives a nice UI of being able to see all the names, you can see all the data. She doesn't have to copy and paste into any spreadsheets whatsoever. Our email system is also very useful for her in the fact that she can spend less time copying and pasting addresses into there. She can send emails directly from this. She can personalize any notes that she wants in the request. We really want to thank her. She unfortunately can't be here today, but if anyone is interested in donating to the Potato Head Project, you should definitely check out their website. They're also available on Amazon Smile. Want to thank Prime for giving us this awesome space to be able to collaborate on this project. Want to thank Nunki. You guys are awesome. Dane, all the instructors. You guys are all great. Again, we're Casey Clowers, Paia Tau, Tua Tau, and I'm Jimmy Brannon. Thanks, guys.
Let's have another round of applause for all of our Nunki men. You guys have worked so hard for the last 20 weeks to get to where you are today, so please, please, please be very proud of what you have done, because it is no small feat to do what you have presented. If you have questions or would like to meet with the students or would like to take a tour of the place, we would love to give that to you. Unfortunately, this space will eventually become their interview space, because we're going directly into 4 hours of interviews for these new candidates. So the fun doesn't stop. So what we would ask is that you vacate this space. If you want to go off to the sides or take a tour of the space, this is the time to do it. Again, if you have any questions, they are happy to talk about their projects. And thank you for coming out.